Okay, before I start this video, if you're gonna be one of these people who gets mad at me because I'm analyzing Two and a Half Men, you can just scroll up. It's fine, don't worry about it. Okay, so Rose on Two and a Half Men. Now, I think Rose was always in kind of a weird position on this series. She was originally created just to be like a one-off character, but the people involved in the show were so impressed with Melanie Lynskey's performance that they made her into a main character, which is odd if you think about it, because like, I mean, how many TV shows do you see where like one of the main characters is like the stalker of the show's protagonist? You know, eventually they do end up kind of forming a friendship together, but the stalker is kind of her primary role throughout the series. So it's odd in that way. Now, the thing with Rose, because it was something that was originally just intended to be a one-off role, Melanie Lynskey was never completely comfortable with having this major role on a successful long-running show. She wanted to be able to do a variety of different acting roles in movies and stuff like that. So starting in season 3, she was asked basically to have her role reduced in the show. She's still a main character, but she's in less episodes, you know, from season 3 on, until we get later into season 4, where her character is written off the show. And there's this whole story where she moves away to London. Charlie thinks it's this whole, you know, scheme of hers being manipulative, but she moves for real. She ends up coming back like a few times a season, you know, throughout. But what I don't like is the fact that when her character ends up coming back later on in season 5, her character experiences, I think, a lot of Flanderization. To becoming somebody who was, yes, a stalker, yes, creepy, yes, inappropriate, all that stuff. But I think was still had a certain level of normalcy to her, and where it's like you can kind of see them being friends. You know, you can see why I'd be like, hey, let's let her babysit Jake sometimes, stuff like that. But by the time we get to the season 5 and on, she becomes kind of more and more of like a total psychopath, to the point where it just doesn't totally feel like the same character, and there's not necessarily like a reason given for it. You can say it's just maybe an escalation of her personality, but there's nothing that really happens that like kind of signals it. You know, like we get certain episodes like where the one where she's like drugging Charlie, and it's kind of like a possible homage to the movie Misery. That one was honestly a little bit like uncomfortable for me personally to watch. Like I didn't find it as funny. And here's the thing with Two and a Half Men. Two and a Half Men is a show that, in my opinion, does not know how to write woman characters very well. I think you have some well-written ones. Bird is pretty well-written. I think Chelsea was a pretty solid character. But you see characters like Judith, who falls into the trope of, like, the you know, ex-wife. You got Candy, who starts off as a bimbo, and then becomes a gold digger. And then you have Rose, who is enjoyable, but she's also the crazy stalker ex-girlfriend trope. And with, you know, the way that her character leaves the show and comes back a little later, she starts out as someone who does have somebody who's, you know, is in this kind of, you know, negative stereotype, but does have more dimensions to her and characteristics that make her likable. But then later on, she just completely just evolves into this, like I said, Flanderized version of this character, which I didn't think was very good at all.